I just wanted to address something that got brought up and just earlier today, speaking with this wonderful brother, just kind of working our way through these discussions that come up all the time, and there's just there shouldn't be any kind of questions or wondering about this. I think we should be able to just rest upon what the Word has to say. And here's the upshot of what we're getting at here. There is when we think of apologetics, and when we say apologetics comes from the Greek word apologia, it's the way of us giving a defense for what it is that we believe. So whatever it is that we believe, whether we're saying it to someone else or if we're just trying to settle it in our own mind, one of the golden rules of understanding and interpreting what the Scripture has to say is we take the things that are more difficult in light of what is more easy to understand or more simple. And a great example of that, and again, there are some denominations that, man, when you walk in the doors of that place, you know exactly what you're going to hear on this particular topic. So it's very simply this. What about any particular action or something that we might do that would be somehow disqualifying to us as far as our faith is concerned? And so the hypotheticals are myriad. I mean, you can hear so many different things that people will look at and say, well, but what if I do this, and if that's not confessed and I meet the Lord, but I haven't confessed that particular sin, what's going to become of me? And so without getting into details about all the different ones that people put out, let's do that thing where we just say, what is the simplest thing for me to be able to settle in my mind? First of all, salvation comes by belief. It's salvation by grace through faith. That's what Paul tells us in Ephesians 2:8. By grace you've been saved through faith. It is not your work. It's nothing that you've done. It's not of your works. It is the gift of God. So he doesn't leave any wiggle room in that. So I don't care what people want to throw out. They're going to usually throw out James chapter 2, James chapter 1, those different things about justification and all the rest. That's after the fact. Those are things that are going to give evidence that God has done this work in you, but by grace you've been saved. So if we start to throw in those kind of things, well, what about if I do this? Well, if you doing whatever it may very well be disqualifies you from heaven, then that means that your salvation is based on your efforts or lack thereof. And that doesn't fly. That flies in the face, actually, of what we see that we're saved by grace. Does that mean that we sin, that grace would abound? Paul addresses that too by says, of course not. Silly. That's a ridiculous thought. What we want to do is walk in a place of being right before God and pleasing to Him. And whenever those kind of things come up, that we've done something that we just know that He would be dissatisfied with, it doesn't disqualify us from heaven. It just is something that, like with anything, if we've offended someone close to us that we love, we want that acknowledged, because it puts up a wall with us, not salvation. But I mean, it's like, man, if there's something that's gone on, we want to address it so that it takes away that kind of the conflict that is there by our actions. And so we remove that conflict by addressing it and coming before Him. So it doesn't disqualify us, our particular things that we do, or else salvation will then be maintained by works that we do. So you can't earn your way into heaven. You don't earn your way out of it by actions. Now again, actions should follow. That's why we talk about sanctification or holiness, godliness, those kind of words. Those are things that are applied to the believer after they're saved. So as we walk with the Lord and we grow in Him and we start to see the things that He would expect of us, we begin to walk accordingly. Again, it's the idea of peer pressure, but in the good way. So the more that I'm with Him, the more that I spend time with Him, the more that I say, your will, not mine, the more I'm going to be like He is. And that happens over time. And again, is it a daily struggle? You bet. I mean, we live in a world that is just bent on trying to get us to do the wrong thing. So those times are going to come in when I'm going to regret something that I've done. Doesn't disqualify me from heaven, but I want to take that to the Lord and say, I want to be able to look at you in the eye and not be ashamed. So I want to acknowledge those things, that there's something that's taken place. So anyway, we stay with what we know for sure. We are not saved by our works, so there's nothing that I will do by some singular thing that's going to disqualify me from heaven because I fell into whatever sin that might be. It could have real consequences, maybe even for a lifetime, but it doesn't disqualify me from heaven. So let's stay with what we know for absolutely sure. What the Word says is that I am saved because of what He has done, not because of what I have done. I simply am to believe in His completed, finished work and for His forgiveness of my sin through the blood of His Son. That's what the Scripture says. Everything else has to be subordinate to that truth. That is the biggest of the big picture things. Everything else has to refer back to that. And if it somehow is contradictory to that, then what we're believing is incorrect. So let's stay with what we know. All right, good stuff. Hopefully that's understandable. For me, it's good stuff. Hopefully it works as well as you're concerned as well.